Greetings, I'm Andrea Hunter. Welcome to Sips and Civics, where civic education meets cocktails, mocktails, and teas. Today's drink is Bleeding Heart Spritz. It is very delicious. And it actually warms my heart, right? Each episode, we pour a drink and break down civics, government, history, and current events in a way that's approachable, thoughtful, and judgment-free. Whether you're confused about how government works, want to stay informed without doom scrolling, or just enjoying learning with a drink in hand, this is for you. So let's get started. Today's discussion is going to be civic engagement. What's the definition of civic engagement? Civic engagement means relating to the duties and activities to make a difference in the lives of our communities and develop a combination of knowledge, skills, values, and motivation to make that difference. It means promoting the quality of life in the community through political and non-political processes. Local elections. Local elections I want to talk about because this is one of the elections that people do not engage in. I don't understand why it's foreign to people to believe because local elections are not party. It's bipartisan. So you don't hear a lot of advertising telling you about your local elections because you don't have political parties going back and forth. And, because political parties have a lot of advertising, right? So you don't see that as much in local elections. So people, because they're not seeing it, they don't believe it's important. But let me tell you something. Local elections are one of the most important things in your civic engagement life because they actually focus on your pocketbook. This is really, it's federal, it goes by how much you make per year, how much taxes you pay. State, pretty much the same. But your local, that's your fire, your police, your schools. It's a big additive into your pocketbook, okay? So let me explain to you why local elections are so important. But it's hard to engage in something when you're not aware of its importance, right? So that's why we're doing these series of education, let you know how important they are. Local elections is an election to choose the people who run their local government and held within a specific community such as a city, county, or school district. Local elections. Unlike presidential elections or federal congressional elections, local elections focus on community-specific issues and candidates. Low voter turnout. This significantly is lower than national elections, meaning a small number of voters can have a large impact on the outcome. Less media attention, as I said before. Due to less media attention, voters have to seek out candidate and ballot information on their own. Local elections are usually our-year timing. Many areas hold local elections years when there is no federal or state official elections. These are often called municipal elections. Partisan versus non-partisan. Local races, particularly those for city or school board, are non-partisan. Non-partisan means candidates do not run as a member of a specific political party. At-large versus district. At-large systems, voters cast ballots for all candidates citywide. In a district-based system, voters choose representatives for their specific area. Local elections, the officials and measures determined by these elections directly impact the daily lives of its residents, including the issue of public safety, which I just mentioned earlier, police, fire, sanitation workers, water, infrastructure, building codes, electrical, structural, property taxes, education, our public schools. Key difference, local versus federal elections. Issues. Voting affects services like roads, public safety, parks, transportation, zoning laws, and tax rates, your property taxes, right? Officials, the elected officials make decisions on local laws, budget, and project publics. City versus township. Okay, this is what a lot of people get confused with, city versus power. So please be patient with me because I want to give it into detail so you can understand. City, an incorporated municipality with its own charter and high degree of self-governance, typically has a larger population, is more densely populated, has defined municipal boundaries for its urban area, has a more autonomous governing body such as a mayor and council. Cities exist in many states as a primary form of local government. Well, township. Townships are smaller administrative divisions of a county whose powers and responsibilities are defined by the state legislature, can range from a handful of people in a rural setting to a large urban area, but it's often a smaller, less dense community. Can be defined square land, like 36 square mile township in Michigan, or more irregular shape based on geographical convenience. Governed by a board of trustees, which can include a supervisor, clerk, treasurer, and trustees. Townships are not present in all states. Their prevalence and functions are state dependent. In the state of Michigan, for say, the distinction is clear. Cities are incorporated municipalities with their own governments and services. Townships govern the vast majority of the state's land area outside of cities, providing basic local services like road maintenance. What is a city charter? Okay, this is what a lot of people get confused. Now, union people also often tell them, well, that a charter is like your bylaws. It's a governance words which governs the rules of that city. Okay? It's a legal document that acts as a local government's constitution, defining its structure, powers, and responsibilities, including how it's organized, how officials are elected, and how services are provided. It's often called the home rule. Key aspects of a city charter, okay? Legal framework, self-governance, or the nickname as we all call it, home rule. Community values, operational guidelines, foundation for local laws, dynamic document, provides effective public service, accountability. What is a district? Okay, here's the definition of a district, okay? Is a named territorial division established for administrative, electoral, or organizational purposes within a larger geographic area, such as the city, state, or country. District names often correspond to the major town or administration center within that area, though they can also refer to specific functional divisions like school districts or congressional districts. Key aspects of a district. Administrative purposes. Manage local government functions such as providing services or dividing responsibilities. Geographic definition. They delineate a specific area or locality within a border entity like a county or state. Municipality. A municipality is a local self-governing political entity such as a city, town, or village defined by its legal and administrative boundary and its own government. A city is often a municipality, but a municipality is the broader, official government term encompassing various forms of local government, including cities, towns, and villages. Where does the city revenue actually come from, right? Revenue is generated primarily through property taxes, various sales and usage, taxage, and user charges through services like water and recreation. Also, intergovernmental aid from state and federal governments. Other sources include local licenses, like when you go out there, you got to get a license, liquor licenses, stuff like that, permits, fees, fines, franchise fees, and sometimes even earnings from investments or the sale of city property, taxes, tickets. This is where cities generate their revenue, okay? What is a millage? A rate as of taxation expressed in meals per dollar. Example, the millage will collect about $289,000 in the first year. Millages are very important, right? A lot of us don't turn over the back of the ballot. And when you don't turn on the back of the ballot, and like I said, what I just explained, local elections, very few people are involved in it. So you have a very few people making decisions for a city of 700,000, a city of 1 million, because very few people participate. And I don't understand, and I try to, embrace how people want someone else to decide how their money is spent. Because when you don't participate, that's exactly what's happening, right? So the back of our ballots usually has our judges and people that make certain decisions. And like I said, most of the time there's millages and different proposals that are on the back of the ballot that is passed because most people don't turn over. Elected offices in city elections. Now, I went over this in the previous video, but I want to go more into it, okay? Because these are important. A mayor, elected chief, executive of city or municipality for overseeing government operations, implementing policies, and representing the community. Mayors manage the city's budget, address public concerns, and work with the city council. City council members, okay. Job responsibilities are represent their constituents, make decisions on legislation and policy, and overseeing city government operations. They introduce and vote on new laws, ordinances, and resolutions. Negotiate and approve the city budget. Who did I just say negotiate and approve the city budget? The city council. Monitor city agencies, review land use, and oversee city departments, right? Secures funding for city projects, create policy coordinating city events, and promoting civic engagement. Represent their city at local, regional, and state levels, which means that they go to state meetings and they're supposed to represent the city that they are a city member of, right? They go to regional, state levels to make sure that they advocate for their city, make sure their city gets whatever state funding that's available, and they advocate for just the well-being of their citizens. So why wouldn't you want to partake in this election, right? Commissioner. Now, this is something that always shocks me, that people don't know what a commissioner does. So here's what I'm going to break it. I'm going to make sure that I get it well defined so you understand. Is an elected official who, as part of a board or council, oversees and manages operations and activities within their jurisdiction. They are responsible for policy development, budget management, representing the interests of their constituents. They make critical decisions on matters like land use, infrastructure, and public services. They serve as a link between the government and the public, addressing inquiries and providing information. Okay? So the city, members of a city governing body representing for legislative matters, if they're commissioner in the city. County oversees county management and administration, if they are a commissioner in the county. Board of Commissioners oversee the operation and activities of an organization or agency. I am a commissioner of the Michigan Women's Commission, which was established in 1968, and its appointments are by the governor. I was appointed by Governor Whitmer to this very enlightening thing of commission, and our job is to ensure that women in Michigan have resources to make economic gains to support their family. And I'm very proud to sit on this commission. We've done a lot of things since I've been appointed in 2024. It's a 3-year term. So commissioners are very important. So those are somebody that you need to research if they're already in office. And if they're not, go over to one of their candidate forums and see what they're talking about. See how they're effective. Because like you said, like I say to you, that they are very important fundamental assets to you receiving the services that you pay your taxes for. City clerk. Manage city records, facilitate public meetings, oversee elections, issue licenses and permits for businesses, building and special events, acts as a liaison between the public and the city government, maintain the city records and documents to ensure transparency and accountability. Financial responsibility include maintains financial records, preparing reports, oversees revenue collections, ensures legislation actions, ordinance, resolutions are properly recorded, published, and made available to the public. For union people, I say it's like your recording secretary, okay, if you belong to a union. They have to keep records and maintain them in a very proficient, accurate way. School board members setting the district's vision, hires the superintendent, adopting policies, approving budgets, and advocating for public education. Oversee the school district budget, act on personal recommendations, and approve curriculums. Approve curriculums. So again, as I stated before in my previous episode, if you have a problem with what your children are learning, that's because the people you voted for on that school board are not doing their job. And it's also because you're not ensuring they do their job. I tell people all the time, when they say, I pay people, they should just do their job. Well, you feed and clothe your children, right? So they just should behave. That is not the case. They should go to school and do what they're supposed to do. However, right, if you don't see their report card, you don't keep an update on what they're doing, they run amok. The same way with your elected officials. If you are not at those meetings, if you do not participate, they run amok. And you can't blame them for running amok. You blame yourself because you're the one paying the tax dollars. You're the one who are making their salaries what they are, and you're not overseeing that they do their job properly. They approve district budgets, oversee school personnel, staff hiring and firing, approve it, like I said, maintain governance standards, and they approve those governance standards, evaluating policy, implement in progress, community activism, and liaison. I just want everyone to understand the importance of your local elections. And here in Michigan, let me explain what happens. It is legal to purge you off the polls, okay? So if you do not participate in 3 consecutive elections, so you voted for your president, as I explained before, then you had a city election, you didn't vote. Then you voted in your midterm elections, you skipped one. It's all the elections you are able to do in your district, in your city, okay? So if you do not, they purge you from the polls. And what I want people to understand is, if voting was not important, as I said before, why are they doing all these laws? Why would there be a purging law? Okay, why would there be that? Why would there be different laws to make sure that it's very hard for you to vote? Okay, so thank you for tuning in to me today. Again, this is a very delicious drink. The recipe will be in the captions. And until next time, thanks. Bye.